Welcome to the Exempt List, part of the Zero Blitz podcast family. I am your host, Charles McDonald. We are here. It's Wednesday, June 12th. I'm joined by my dear friend, Nate Tice, who's working with us full time at Yahoo now. We're still slugging through June, trying to figure out what to talk about. And then Aaron Rodgers skipped minicamp this week. Let's go. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Aaron, for giving us just a little something to talk about. And I mean a little something because I don't think that this matters at all.
Especially for a guy that's been in the league for how many years? Just played football.
Almost 20.
Yeah. How many snaps in a non-padded practice? But yeah, it's just, I think the best part is that he's like, I've had this on the calendar for a while. And it's like, and OTAs weren't on the calendar for a while. Right. You couldn't wait 5 more days or 3 more days for this. Yeah. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks. I appreciate it.
That's the only part of this that has me a little bit like, where are you? I know there have been people who tweeted there's like an RFK thing going on June 13th. But today, June 12th, is the last day of Jets minicamp. So Aaron could have gone to Jets minicamp and then hopped on a flight to wherever RFK is and done both. So I don't think it's that, which is making me very curious on what it is. But like the idea that this is a big deal, I don't know. This is the first thing he's missed all offseason. He's been at all the OTAs, all the voluntary stuff. So I think this is fine. It's weird though, because it's kind of overshadowing an actually interesting Jets minicamp holdout where Hassan Reddick is not there. And not only that, Robert Saleh, as of maybe not last week, but the week before, had never spoken to Hassan Reddick, which is like he was traded to you early
At first,
April.
I thought he meant like just recently. Like we haven't talked and like since we broke. It was like, no, he meant that period. Just haven't spoken to him. That's
been a Jet for 2 months, dude.
That's kind of weird.
It's weird.
That's very weird. And he's a defensive coach. Like even on top of that, like it's just I don't know. Yeah,
who specializes in defensive line?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
it's weird.
It's
weird. Because personally, like if I was Hassan Reddick, and you know, one of the things that Eagles fans were complaining about him last year is like, oh, he tries too hard to go get the sack. Well, you know who I would love to play for? Robert Saleh, because that's the only thing we're trying to do here. Right. We're trying to get up the field and get sacks. I know Reddick wants a new deal, as he should, because I think he has 1 year left on the previous deal that he signed with the Eagles. Now he's with the Jets. So I'm sure he wants some more money. And I would imagine that Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh probably find themselves in positions where they can't really hand out too many big money contracts right now because they are on the hottest of hot seats. But still, I don't understand what's going on with Hassan Reddick or what the real holdup is, because this on paper seems like a match made in heaven. So I guess you just have to figure out the money part.
Yeah, and also just like you make these moves with already kind of contract talks already in mind, or already going like, hey, this is what we're going to do once you're on board, or understanding and everything, talking to the agent. It's not like these trades, I mean, they shouldn't, but they don't just come out of the blue and it just like happens in 15 minutes. Like these are usually a process. So it's just, I don't know, the lack of kind of I wouldn't say accountability, but the lack of detail with the Jets kind of keeps always cropping up. And, sometimes I feel for Saleh because it's not like he was the one who pulled the trigger on the trade. That's usually a Joe Douglas thing because he's the GM. And then the Rodgers thing, missing. And then he just has to keep trotting up there and just keep answering the questions with no help. And I'm just like, I just feel bad for him at this point because it's just, none of this is his doing, like, yeah, I'm sure he's okay with it, like he's going to have some say, but it's not his final call. I don't assume that. So it's funny that he's the one that always has to end up answering for it, even if he's not involved at all.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude, I remember last year when me and, our coworker, Jory Epstein, we were at Jets practice, and there's after they signed Dalvin Cook, Dalvin had the situation where people were unsure if he was going to get suspended or not and be able to play for the Jets after the domestic violence allegations that he had. And dude, Robert just keeps going up there and getting hammered with questions. And I asked him a pretty tough question too. And I'm just like, dude, you're getting asked a lot of tough questions for things you don't really have that much to do with. But you're in a leadership or position with the Jets, so you kind of got to eat it. It's just like, we all know who's actually making the meal here.
Yeah.
Like, come on, Joe, you want to come out and answer some questions with all the all that's going on?
Just once a month. Doesn't have to be every week. Just one or two, because I don't know. There's a lot of moves.
Take once every 2 months.
Yeah, once every 2. That would be nice. It's better than probably the Packers. They probably haven't heard from their guys in all year. All year. They don't have to do any of that. I know you
get a draft press conference and post game press conferences. That's
it. I know. I've been some part of it. Some part of me is always like, well, that's why you get paid that money, like to answer those questions. That's why they add an extra 0 to your contract. So there is part of me that is like that, but it's just funny. The hierarchy of the Jets is always just one guy seems to be making the mess, or 2 guys now. And then the third just has to kind of just, hey, let's try to make a salad out of this.
Yeah. So that's really all I got on Rodgers. Is there anything else here?
That's it. Just get to camp. Let's get to preseason. Let's get to God. Just get me out of this.
or it doesn't even have to be preseason. It could just be not this.
Yeah. Just not this.
It could be not this. Yeah.
You don't like watching quarterback net throws and people talking about how accurate and what an arm all these guys have? That's another one. Indy's
quarterbacks going through bag drills.
Everyone's like, oh man, they're really emphasizing this quarterback's footwork. Every quarterback from high school onwards does bag drills and net drills and warm-ups and individual. It's like, I feel like people haven't seen an individual drill. It's like, because now they start paying attention.
No, seriously.
That's what happens. They go, oh, I'm going to watch, like when they draft offensive tackle in the first round, they go, oh man, you see that new sled they got? And like the sled's been there for 4 years. Like the sled, like they've always used that sled. It's like, oh man, they're really, really emphasizing, accuracy and footwork with this quarterback. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to click on the clip. What are they talking about here? And I'm like, yeah, that's the stuff you do in camp. That's the stuff you always do. You do that every day. That's a warm up. That's to get you going. So that's always been a one for me, where I just have to bite my tongue or bite my fingers so I don't say anything too snarky on Twitter.
I think the quarterback net stuff is the most baffling.
It is.
Where people like actually get excited about that. Because like, dude, like JV football, you'll see some 15-year-olds just messing around before practice. Dude. At the same distance, hitting those passes.
And I'm not making it sound like this. It's like, but I could do that. Like, not like me, who's a backup in college, like me throwing into the net. Like I could throw a 15-yard ball into the net. If you're like, hey, throw it to the middle red. Okay, that's what you had to do. Would I hit it every time? No, but I could hit 1 out of 3, even right now. It's just that's what cracks me up. It's just like the overemphasis on some of the small things. It's like, yeah, small things matter, but right now in June, chill.
Yeah, but I guess everything matters in June, because I mean, even Falcons fans were like, wow, look at how the ball comes off of Penix's hand versus Kirk's hand. I was like, oh god,
we're doing this.
There's not even any defenders on the field. There's no one.
I know exactly what you're talking about too. It was a hitch. It was a hitch. It was a 5-yard throw.
Hitch on air.
See, they start paying attention.
That pass right now.
Oh, I just get this all the time, man. It's so frustrating. Oh, and then same with that also gets into our receiver discussion, the Jerry Jeudy stuff. It's like, look at that route. It's like, well, they're doing a footwork drill. Like it's not a route. It's just quick feet.
Yeah. To do a whole podcast on airing grievances on social media football clips. The one of the worst ones to me is the whip route, where it's like, look at this route running. I'm like,
the 7-second
the hardest route to defend.
Yeah, with no help. Yeah, I know. And you know what happens?
You give up 2 yards, it's a touchdown. Okay.
Oh yeah, whip route. Oh, the other one is O-line or high school O-line camps. O-line, D-line camps, the one-on-ones when no one's in pads. God. Those are the worst. Those are just awful. I hate them so much. Just because what gets encouraged, and when I watch the video and I'm seeing that the quote-unquote coaches, I'll put that name in quotes, are going like hyping it all up. And I'm like, this is just bad. You're just teaching bad habits here. That's another one that always gets me too. A lot of bad technique.
It's funny, dude. I just recorded a podcast with Barnwell, and I got on a boomer rant for like 20 minutes about the fumble touchback rule. And we're starting this podcast with boomer rants about social media.
Don't we have more boomer rants too? Isn't our next subject?
Oh,
boomer
we do.
Rant?
I was just about to say, speaking of boomer rants, guys, we're back. NCAA football comes out in about a month. And I just need to tell my fellow 30-year-olds, who I'm going to guess do not play video games as often as I do. You're not ready for what these kids have been developing over the past 10 years in terms of stick skills. Mm-mm. you're not ready. Okay. So, just huddle up with your buddies, play some online head-to-heads. But if you think that you're about to go, if you haven't played one of these games in 10 years, don't think that you're about to just come up on these head-to-heads and beat some cracked out teenager. It doesn't work like that anymore.
It doesn't.
Okay. It doesn't. Now, Nate joined our Madden franchise league late and had a lot of success. But I will say, we're all about the same age in there.
Yeah.
So when you come up against some 16-year, you are the oldest. But you're not too far above Steve. So, or actually, Dylan might be as old as you.
Okay. All right. God.
Yeah.
30.
About the same age.
I'm not gonna say the exact age. 30-something.
30-something. 30-something.
30-something.
But also not as 30-something as you would think listening to this.
Young heart. Young soul.
Young heart. Young soul.
As I have movie posters, board games around me, I'm just a child. It's like I had a son just have somebody play.
My background has Ant-Man in it right now.
True. It's true. I know. I had a son just so I could have a board game playing partner in 5 years and 7 years. Just that's it. That was the main reason. Just so I had somebody that can't say no.
Son turned 7. Hey, Monopoly? Hey. No, you can't say no.
Take it a ride. What else you got to do? You ain't going to Timmy's house. Who's driving you? I will say though, the video game thing, I was intimidated getting into that Madden league because I hadn't played in 7 years, and I was like, most of the. I even said it after I started playing some people online. I was like, cheese is the cheese. It's the same cheese as the new cheese. Same exact stuff that people tried back in the days. They still try now. There's little tweaks to it and everything. But I'll say, people, anyone pays attention to the esports, our friend Derek Klassen probably knows it the best, but those guys peak at like 22. Like there's not a lot of late 20s esport players because you just have to be so quick-minded. So now think about that, and then getting into these games where you can now do so much with stick skills. So yeah, I agree with you that I'm a little intimidated getting into the NCAA jungles. I might just stick it to my little 5-man circle or league that we might do.
I've noticed as I get older, video games are definitely getting a little bit harder for me. So one thing that last week when I was on family vacation, whenever I had some time to myself, I was playing the God of War game that came out in 2018. And I played that game on like the second hardest difficulty. And I started off doing that. I started doing that I tried to start doing that for my replay where I was playing on the second hardest difficulty, and I was getting my ass kicked in a way that I wasn't like 4 or 5 years ago when it first came out. So then I had to start like ticking the difficulty down a little bit and like playing with the settings to make it a little easier for me. I'm like, damn, this is what 30 is? I've lost it. Lost it. I'm not as good as video games as I used to be. I'm not.
My exposure to that, well, that's why I got out of Call of Duty. It was just like, I in college, I could already see my stick skills slipping. And so I was like, I'm going to find a new game. Overwatch was a great game for me because I didn't have to worry about being like high twitch shooter and getting headshots. I could just run around as my little healer guy, Lucio. And then, but it's just like once we got past that, a lot of single player games for Nate now. 30-year-old Nate is a lot of Switch games. Zelda, I think we were talking about that just right now. Hades, which is a phenomenal game. Hades 2 is coming out soon. Did you play the Guardians of the Galaxy game?
I did.
That was a fun single player game. I played that on Xbox, but that was a fun game. So by a lot of single player games, because my ego is fragile. So I just I can't get punked, and I never talk online when I do play online, but I can hear the other people, and so I just don't need a 12-year-old calling me garbage. I just don't. I got enough of that.
You need a 30-year-old calling you.
Yeah, see, that's fair. That's fair. It's like you've seen enough to know that I'm garbage. You 12-year-old, you haven't seen that yet.
But this is exciting though, because like I was 19 the last time one of these games came out, and I just turned 30, so that's pretty insane. And I think that it's exciting because I think a lot of people always enjoyed some of the depth, especially as Madden got to like some of the next gen stuff on like PS4, and the later stuff, more recent stuff on PS5. I think people just missed the depth that NCAA could provide. And I'm excited for it too, because as much as I, mostly enjoy our Madden franchise league, it's not as immersive as like a real NFL franchise, experience should be. Even if you're going to negotiate a contract with someone, like I can't structure it in a way where I can take advantage of, like if I have, $100 million in cap space, I can't burn like 50 million of it right here on this contract.
Right.
Which is kind of really basic stuff. There's no restricted free agents. The contracts aren't correct. It's lacking. But we know that EA is capable of more. One, because they have the funds for it. Two, because they have done it before in the past, like with the old Xbox versions, just Xbox and PS2 versions of Madden, where they had like the radio show with Tony Bruno and all the depth that they would have in the league, where they would make like magazine covers for what was going on. That was cool. And that was a lot less technology than we currently have right now. So I really feel like, I know Madden's on like a year-to-year development cycle, and that's going to rush things, but no, this is PS5. There's no reason that an Xbox experience from 20 years ago should be more immersive. So I really hope that they get it right. And there's just a lot of things to fix for Madden, where that game is right now.
Yeah, and after playing when COVID during the pandemic, during the lockdown, I started playing Warzone, Call of Duty, but then I started playing NBA 2K for the first time in years, and playing in a league with other friends and a franchise with other friends, and putting that all together and realizing how deep that went, and then going trying to play Madden and going like, oh my God. Like, and so that was like a breath of fresh air. And that's what, I mean, NFL is even more like that you can get into that. I appreciate they have practice squads and stuff like that, but there's just so much more that you could dive into. The fact, I mean, I've always wanted like a football manager version of the NFL, an NFL video game. I know they had the NFL head coach game with Tony Dungy on it, but it was just, I don't know. It's just, there's so much you could do that's not even just on field stuff. You could literally do a franchise mode, not even play one game in the game thing, and still have a ton of fun if you do it right.
Oh, yes.
And that's, I feel like they just, there's so much meat they leave on the bone. And I get it that they pump it out every year, but it's like, oh, can't you just pump out one version and just update it every year, with roster stuff until you have a new version? I know, but they don't make money that way. but I know. Sell it for $10. Go like, hey, we're going to update the rosters. It's $9.99. That's what the DLC is.
I'll pay for that.
I would too, as long as the underlying system's good. And I think that's why glass half full a little bit. I don't even know if it's half, maybe a third full about NCAA, is that they took a while to develop it, and they took some time to build it up, and it's on the next gen console and everything. So it's just, that is why I'm a little more optimistic, because they just took a deep breath before developing this, because I don't know, there's just, Madden's, even playing it this year, I was like, oh, the gameplay is actually pretty fun. But like, after hearing what other people have said for the last like 6-7 years, it was just all the off, like it was always just all the game management stuff. Like contract negotiation stuff. I had a 5th-year option guy, and I was so frustrated with him. I was like, I want to lock you up. Like, why? I can only just accept it? Like, no, I want to extend you. And you can't get creative. Yeah, all those things. Unless you're Justice. And then he just breaks the game.
Speaking of Justice, he told me the other day that he has some NCAA codes to give away. So if you want to get in on that game, and I think we're going to have a little online dynasty too, just tweet at Jumosq, JUMOSQ. See if you can get a code from him, and then ask him for the sign up sheet so that you can play with us.
Perfect.
When the game comes out in a month. Now, just one of the biggest problems that I've had with Madden, especially, is because we were talking before about like big run game enthusiasts and how much we like to run the ball. It's so hard to develop an O-line.
Yeah,
it's so hard because there's no drills. One, there's no drills for them. Which is like, come on. You tell me you couldn't just do like a little lead blocking game,
or like a Guitar Hero thing where you have to like press every button, like right hand, left hand, like something like that. Just like a timing based drill or something. Yeah,
just not trying. Let's call it what it is. You're just not trying on that one. Literally every other position has one except for offensive line. You're just not trying. So that's kind of frustrating, especially like if you're going to market the game, or not market the game, but like make the game in a way where this year offensive line play is like actually really, really important in a way that's kind of hard to get around, especially when you run up against someone who's a super souped up defensive line or a front seven. The fact that like you draft a rookie and they kind of just get stuck at or around whatever overall, unless you're the best team in the league, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So let's fix that. Let's fix the contract stuff. I should be able to extend someone before the last year of their deal.
Yes.
If I want to.
Yes.
I don't understand why that's not in the game. And there should just be some immersion. Like one thing I think that 2K did that's been really cool, because I understand, like, if you're a game developer, making franchise mode every year probably gets a little stale. I would have to imagine, because, you know, it's not like the CBA is changing every single year. There's only so many things you can put in there. But one thing that 2K did was cool was their eras mode, where you can start in like 1960 and basically just run your own history of the NBA as it comes. So, you know, in 1984 or 1983, the Michael Jordan draft class will pop up. In 2003, the LeBron James and D-Wade class will pop up. When you get to 2005, like the Bobcats pop up after becoming, you know, the Hornets and stuff like that. That's cool.
Yeah, it is.
That's really cool. And you already have the licensing for everything, because you have the card games, you have the MUT. So you already have the likeness to a bunch of old players on your database. I feel like it'd be pretty easy to incorporate something like that. But I just feel like even in a year, in a world where, you know, these sports games are kind of losing their quality a little bit, or at least losing their innovation, EA is still one of the worst ones out there. And it doesn't have to be that, because you have the most popular sport in America. You could try a little bit, just a little bit.
And a sport that has so much to it, so many layers to it. I mean, shoot, the Ray Lewis cover one, so was that 05? I mean, that was my favorite one, but also it was like, because they emphasized defense. Because now they're like, hey, the offense has had all this, but you can do this now on defense. It was like, oh, it's like so cool. But like what you're saying with the line play stuff, if you do just innovation of stuff, it's cool. You can control the line, but it's like, do the physics make sense in actual football? You know, some of that is that's why I kind of got away from Madden, and I get it. It's a video game and everything. But I was actually just even thinking about your kind of eras idea, because then you can go into like, if you have to play a team in 1968 or 1972, you have to use that playbook. Like, so there's like 3 pass plays in the whole playbook, you know, like, or everything's just vertical. And so like the defense is only just running the most basic, you know, kind of like 5 down defenses and stuff like that. That's like another idea for it too. It's like you kind of change up what you can run.
Whoever drafts Terry Bradshaw gets confused when he maxes out at like 77.
Wait, isn't he a Hall of Famer? Oh, that's great. That's really
okay.
Funny.
See, this is way off the beaten path. But you know, like when people say like Joe Namath sinks, no, he was pretty damn good.
He was good.
Era.
He was
Terry Bradshaw, dude. I think you can make an argument he was way overrated for even the time he played.
Oh, you think? I mean, yeah, there's a couple of those Steelers Hall of Famers. If I really wanted to get some things going on Twitter, I'd talk about it. You know, one of them is a very graceful man, but Mr. Lynn Swan. You ever looked at his stats? it's like really?
Well, what a Terry.
Yeah, I know. It's like he made the cool catch in the Super Bowl. So it's like, oh, of course he's a champ. I know. Oh, the other thing Justice said too about, sorry, this is the Justice show. The tweet about the new kickoff rule. Can you imagine the developer that has to work on that for the game too? Like that's another component of all this too. But I just thought about that. Like somebody has to be the one in charge of that. Oh, another thing too. Speaking of kind of, I don't know how spicy I want to get, but over at quarterbacks, been watching some more old Joe Montana lately. He's does plenty of good things. He's still a very good quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if I can kind of keep talking about him as a top 10 guy now. After watching some of that, I think he got a little help. I know we know this, but it is very telling when they always go Joe Montana and Bill Walsh and Jerry Rice, as opposed to, it's Peyton. Oh, who was Peyton's play caller? You ask 10 sports fans or football fans, how many would know Tom Moore? Yeah, exactly.
Tom Moore, that's right. Yeah,
Tom Moore, yeah. And then he had others, Caldwell and all that. But Tom Moore was the main guy. So it's like, but that's the thing, it's Peyton. Tom Brady had 7 different OCs and everything, and made all of them. Charlie Weiss, Josh McDaniels got all them jobs. But I don't know, after I'm watching it and knowing the innovations that Bill Walsh was doing, there's a lot of wide open Jerry Rice on those highlights. Not like some good throws, don't get me wrong. Joe Montana was tough as hell, but a lot of wide open Jerry Rice. And there's it's kind of tainted my image of him.
Dude, so in middle school, when I was in 7th grade, one of my football coaches was Dwight Clark.
Oh,
he would murder you right now for this blasphemy that you're saying. That guy had a sailor's mouth to him. I was like 13. I'm like, are you talking to me that way?
some of those old Grady coaches, man. Yeah. No, but that was another thing, was them watching Steve Young. I could see like why they traded for him. 'Cause that was my, I think I may have talked about this before. That was my all pandemic team when I watched all these old YouTube clips of highlights and games of the 80s and 90s. Watching Steve Young, I was like, why don't we talk about him as like a top 4 guy ever? Because it's just, he was phenomenal. And that was a big difference between the Montana and Young conversation for me anyways. But yeah, thank you for letting me get that BYU take off. Stigma. I can't wait to get just freaking fried for that. 49ers fans already love me enough.
This has been maybe the most June podcast I've done or listened to in a while.
We got Madden. We got Joe Montana is overrated. What else we got in here?
The last thing before we get to an ad break and then talk about some actual football, depending on if you think about what the Panthers did last year as being actual football. We got a question from Action Jack 69. We'll close off the NCAA conversation here. What team for NCAA? Okay, so I have two plans based on what our online dynasty ends up looking like.
All depends on that.
Because Justice, who is organizing most of it, wants to take Oregon and just start buying players off of the transfer portal as a bigger program. I don't think that that'll be fun if you start off as like a two-star program. And if someone else is a 6-star, that doesn't seem like a whole lot of fun to me. I think that it needs to be standardized. So if Justice takes Oregon, I will take Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
Just
I'm taking
not
Wisconsin.
Fair at all.
Easy done. Yeah.
Right. But if not, I'm going to go team builder. I'm going to make Football University. It's going to somehow be like a more bland version of Alabama's uniform. The quarterback will be black and everyone else will be white.
What did you just call it? Football University?
Football University.
Wasn't this Bishop Sycamore? Is that
no, well, this is a legit organization. Okay, we have a head coach, we have an OC, and a strength coach. We're still working on the DC hire.
Are what race are the coordinators?
Oh, they're black, of course.
Okay. I go with that. This is good. I like this. That's funny.
Okay. We've talked a lot about justice on this podcast, but the last thing I have is before we got like the big bucket of news about the game, like last week or the week before, he was telling me that he was going to be Army, Navy, or Air Force in the dynasty because they have different transfer rules regarding the portal. And he was like, you can't poach my players because they're going to go to war. I was like, dude, you need to log off and get some sleep and talk to your girlfriend.
He makes spreadsheets over these guys, like detailed spreadsheets. They're very helpful when he does share them. But
extremely helpful.
There are actually multiple members of this league that take scouting notes, and I will include myself here. I have notes on Steven Ruiz and like what he did against me and some other guys in the league because I was committed to that league until we realized that we're moving on to NCAA. But I was building it up. I have a Google Doc with some scouting notes on everybody. I have formation tells.
Oh my god!
Steven did the same to me, so I was like, hey, I can't be left behind. This is good. I don't know who I'd want to build up. When I used to play NCAA, my friends and I. So this has been more middle school. We had a rule you couldn't play as a ranked team. So if you played against each other. So I always played as Oregon State, who at the time had Steven Jackson, Derek Anderson, and
really dating yourself.
Jamal Newsome. Oh, God. Derek Anderson was my counselor at the Manning Academy when I was in high school. He was in college and I was in high school. So him and, who was my other one? Ryan Fitzpatrick. Oh
my God.
Those were my counselors when I was in high school. I'm old. So, yeah, but NCAA, it was either Kansas State when they had Sproles or Oregon State when they had those guys because Newsome, the receiver, was 99 speed. So, yeah, it was great in that game because speed was basically overall. So, yeah, that was always my team. And then they got banned. But now that they're a Pac-2 team, might be a solid team to kind of throw in there because I can basically call them Mountain West. They're not big time anymore.
My favorite was freshman year, just like after practice, just bust people's ass with Johnny Manziel on 2014. Like bust people's ass.
He was overpowered, wasn't he? If I remember correctly.
Way overpowered.
Yeah.
And that was also when the read option was broken as hell too. So you could just run for like 400 yards with Johnny Manziel, and my friends would be like, "How do you do this?" I'm like, "Oh, because it's broken."
Because it's broken. I know the best play.
Yeah, you guys got to learn the tricks. Skills. That's right. Okay, good first half of the pod. We will talk about some actual football when we get back after a quick word from our sponsors. Okay, we are back. The very June episode of the Exempt List. Nate, you wrote or are writing about Bryce Young?
Are writing. Probably come out
are writing
right when you guys are listening to this, maybe. But yeah.
Okay. If you're a Panthers fan, I would say don't go to Nate's timeline. If you are someone who is interested in learning more about Bryce Young and what he did last year, you should definitely check out Nate's timeline at Nate_Tice. Last season was not good for Bryce Young.
No.
I think everybody knows that. It was not a productive season for him whatsoever. Frank Reich became another one and done coach, which is quietly littered the 2020s, the early 2020s. Yeah. There's been a lot of one and done coaches.
2 in Houston. We had Nathaniel Hackett, Urban Meyer, Frank Reich. That's 5 in 3 years.
And right before that, in 2019, Freddie Kitchens.
Oh, Freddie Kitchens. That's right. Sure. I mean, McDaniels went a year in like 4 games. Like he barely even lasted long into that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I actually do think that's interesting. These owners, I think these owners, they have so much damn money now. They don't really care about burning.
Look at the staffs. The staffs are like 40 deep now. Like you see the Eagles, like how many tweets I saw. Eagles are promoting everybody. And it was like, what are these titles? It's like director of performer analysis and player communication. It's like, so you develop, are you the one talking to him? So what's the other guy that's on top? It's just funny to me, but what you're saying, I'm sorry. These staffs.
It sounds like, office play stuff,
Yeah. But there's a lot more money to pay these guys. So I do think that, the NFL's a little bit different with the coaches now. It's like they used to get 4 years, unless you're a train wreck. And then it became more 3 years. And then now it's just like, whatever, what's NBA this? Let's just shuffle these guys in and out.
So last year, Bryce Young, basically so bad, Frank Reich got fired before he could finish year one, which was pretty notable because Frank Reich was a pretty respected coach coming into last season. Now he's got Dave Canales, who's coming over from Tampa Bay. Just straight up, how optimistic are you that Bryce Young can turn this around and get to like top 12 QB range?
Top 12, not very optimistic.
I mean, they spent the first pick on him,
I know, but I do think there's a path to viability, which is at least something. I see a lot of Alex Smith with this game, and that's the player I just keep coming back to. He's very smart. You can tell he's very, very smart, and that is a double-edged sword, though, because he's so smart, but he also knows what he can and can't get away with. And sometimes you want him to push it a little more. Sometimes you want to be a little more aggressive. Now, easy for me to say that. I'm standing here reviewing all this. The offensive line for the Panthers was horrid, terrible rules, miscommunications. The receivers were not getting separation. The play calls were uninspiring. So I don't want to damn him completely. But the thing was, when Trevor Lawrence had his, very shaky rookie year under Urban Meyer, there were still a lot of glimpses of like, there's some high-end stuff here still. The pocket movement, the avoidance of sacks, all the pushing the ball sometimes, threading the needle. And with Young, I see some accuracy. I see him knowing what to get to, knowing how to progress through stuff. But there's a lot of times that, that high-end stuff just isn't there. The creation stuff, the arm strength, I think his lack of arm strength kind of limits his upside overall because he has to be perfect with everything. If he's a half second late and has to push the ball, it's tough. Like the room for error for him is very small. So for me, I think he definitely be a starter because he's smart, he's accurate, he can get it done. It's just that that high end number 1 pick trade up for is just already, to me, after 1 year, even if it was a terrible situation, I'm like, yeah, that already looks rough. So I just watching him, it was tough though. That line was really tough. You really feel bad for him and you just hope scar tissue doesn't develop. But Canales has now he had a nice year with Geno Smith in Seattle. He had a nice year with Baker Mayfield. Both kind of doing different things as far as how they succeeded. So there's some optimism as far as he can maybe figure something out. What is Bryce good at? Really good at getting rid of the ball. If he's in the empty, he's good because he can make quick decisions and he's accurate. But I'm just trying to figure out what else they can put onto his table and what they think he's best at. But I'm going to say I don't want to put it all on him, but there is just I wasn't very high on him in the draft for this reason. It's just that lack of high-end traits. You can see that there's a cap to his ceiling a little bit already.
Yeah, it's just it's not fun to like bury a guy after year one.
That's what I know. That's why I'm like, I don't want to say like, hey, he's done. This was a total mistake. It's just like I'm limiting how high he can get, I think is where I'm at.
The way I feel about Bryce is like, if you could have done a little bit more, I think you would have showed it. Like people go, okay, you know, if CJ Stroud played for the Panthers last year, it wouldn't have looked as good. Obviously. Duh. Obviously, it would not have looked as good. But it would have looked better than what it did last
glimpses.
Year.
Yeah.
Right. Still see some glimpses. I don't know. Because I think there's two things I feel about this. One, if you trade picks that have become Caleb Williams, Jalen Carter, plus the addition of DJ Moore, who was fantastic for Chicago.
I voted him as my second team All-Pro last year. So,
right.
So pretty good.
Pretty good. And before Jalen Carter hit that rookie wall last year, he looked like a damn All-Pro too.
Yep.
So we'll see. You might have just traded two All-Pro players, two All-Pro caliber players, plus Caleb Williams, who also has All-Pro potential, for Bryce Young. That guy needs to be something.
Has to.
Needs to be something for that trade to even remotely start to tipping the balance in terms of just being like a slight loss instead of one of the worst trades in the history of the NFL. I also think after watching Bryce last season, I don't know how reasonable it is for me to expect that he ever lives up to something like that.
No, I just don't think
I don't know if he's good enough.
Yeah. It's like, I just keep coming back for the room for error. And that's why people want to always, you know, they kind of make fun of me a little bit. I have a preference for size with players and everything and strength and all that. But there's a reason for that, is because those guys give you room for error. When stuff gets old, muddy and shaky, they can, if they're a step late on a throw, they have the arm strength to mitigate that. If a defensive lineman comes clean, they're big enough to run away or move away from that tackle. That Young just naturally, just his natural traits, does not have that. He just doesn't. So to win, to be a successful quarterback, that's why I keep coming back to Alex Smith. Or a late career Drew Brees. Like that's the archetype that has to work for him because of what his skill set is. Right now in the league, though, that's not the skill sets that's winning. That's not the skill set that's at the top of the board. That's not the skill set that we see from the quarterbacks in the Final Four. Like, if you just look at the quarterbacks that have been in the Final Four the last couple of years, Jalen Hurts is 230. Brock Purdy, I'm not the highest guy in Brock Purdy. He's 220, and he can run a little bit. Mahomes is 225. Josh Allen, 240. Lamar is probably 220 now, 215 at the very least. It looks like he slimmed down now. Tua said, I'm going to gain weight so I can be stronger. I know they lost weight in this offseason stuff. Burrow, 230. All these guys are big because they have to get away from those tackles. So when I'm watching Young, it's like, well, that means right away that he has to have a good old line. So you already need something for him to succeed. That's not what you take a number one guy. You take a guy number one because he wipes away all the other blemishes on your roster. Mahomes is the best mouthwash in the NFL. Doesn't matter if, Trey Smith or right guard has the worst year of his career. Mahomes makes it right. Doesn't matter if Kadarius Toney's dropping the ball. Mahomes makes it right. Doesn't matter if the defense blows a lead. Mahomes makes it right. That's why you take a guy number one. I know he wasn't number one, but those are the elite guys. That's what they do. So, I just don't see that. There's some nice plays. There's some really nice plays. There's accuracy. There's ball placement and everything. But like you said, for me, I've been tweeting about it for all week. Those are the good plays that I'm putting up there. There's not ones I'm not sharing with everybody. So it's a quality thing. Like go on YouTube and look up a college player's highlight. If you see 12 minutes on that highlight, good player. If you see 2.5 minutes, you probably not a good one. Probably just by the length because of how many reps and good plays they had. So,
dude, I remember when Texas tweeted out the Bijan Robinson highlight tape, and it was like 18 minutes.
I was gonna say like 20 minutes, right? Yeah. It's like that's the difference. I know. And again, I don't want to damn him completely because he does have some nice qualities, but it's tough sledding. It's a big uphill climb.
I think the offensive line play is interesting because like these are the ripple effects when you draft someone like Bryce Young. Oh, we need an offensive line. Okay. Robert Hunt, $100 million.
Yeah.
Damian Lewis, $67 million.
Yep.
I don't know if I should be giving Robert Hunt $100 million personally.
But now you're making a statement that we're helping him. Yeah.
We're helping him. Go trade out for Deontay Johnson, who, the Steelers are finally replacing with a third round rookie. I don't know. It's obviously a better situation than it was last year. Because you're kind of last year you're one of those situations where like I don't know how conceivably how much lower it could go than this.
It can't. Because even the underlying stats with him are all the busts. But that's why it's him, and it's Josh Rosen's rookie year, Blaine Gabbert's rookie year, and all the numbers. And it's like, yeah, you can point at Jared Goff or even Trevor. Well, Trevor's supremely more talented, I thought. Goff had Sean freaking McVay, and then they signed Robert Woods, Andrew Whitworth, Brandon Cooks. They had Todd Gurley. They had Aaron Donald on the other side of the ball. And then they had McVay.
They don't Havenstein.
Havenstein. Yeah. Oh my God, the offensive line, Saffold. But then you got McVay, who I think it's easy to say is one of the best play callers in recent memory and play designers. Yeah, that'll help. And I'm not saying and that's the thing. I like Canales. I thought he did a really nice job with the Bucs last year, but it's like, is he McVay? We'll see, but I just think the personnel is just, we're still grasping at straws. Even the receivers they took, Mingo's more of a project-y type. Last year, Leggett is very explosive and everything, but he's considered raw too. And he was a late bloomer as well. And it's like, I don't know. You're not really helping him as much as I thought they would. I thought they could have gone for like a big, true, more steady guy, maybe not high end, but I think he needs more steadiness around him more than anything, just to help him out.
Unless I get into mailbag questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we have a lot, so maybe this podcast will be a little over an hour, but there are some really damn good questions here.
There are.
Let's stay connected to the last topic. This first one is from St. Palmy. What does Dave Canales do better than Frank Reich schematically?
I think. Okay. I want to hear what your answer is.
I didn't. When I watched the Panthers last year, I didn't know that there was. I don't know if I thought there was a whole lot wrong schematically. I just thought they sucked.
That's it. It was the personnel more than scheme.
Yeah.
But then also this gets into I'm watching the play calls. I'm like, they're running a lot of quick game, which is usually to me a white flag a little bit. But then again, is that the coaching staff going like, this is all our quarterback can handle? Like that's another scary part of that. It's like, were they just doing that because like this is all we can handle right now, or he can handle and everything? So. Yeah, I don't know. It was someone asked me, it was like, what kind of scheme was it? I go, I don't know, an NFL scheme. It was just all the greatest hits. It was just like the normal NFL scheme. I don't know. I just thought the execution wasn't great because the players weren't that good.
yeah, that's it.
I mean,
the line was really bad.
That's all I got.
Really bad.
The center shouldn't have been out there.
Anyone who says Bryce Young did not have the pieces to succeed is 100% correct.
Yes.
But, it's a little more complicated than that.
I know.
It's a little more complicated.
Trevor showed a little more in his failure of a season. Like, yeah, there's a little bit more. Even Justin Fields, who had a terrible rookie year, there were still glimpses where you're like, ooh.
Dude, the final month of the season, I thought he was about
Pittsburgh
to be a
game.
superstar.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I know. I was banging that drum. But it was, but there's traits. There was like, holy crap, he just ran away from four guys, ran through a tackle, made that throw. And yeah, I know. That's the glimpses.
That's why he's going to start this year, though.
I think he does. I think he ends up. I think he does too. I think they're just trying not to.
Maybe not week one.
They're trying not to rattle any cages before camp. I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, because dude, I wouldn't give a damn. See, this is where I think Russ messed up by signing such a cheap contract. There's no loyalty there at all. Yeah. $1 million.
They're not committed.
You're a punter.
Yeah.
Russ, you went too hard on trolling Denver. You got to get some security, bro.
Oh my god,
dude! If I'm at week 5 and I'm looking at $1 million cap hit, that's right. 6 touchdowns, 10 picks. You're going to the bench.
And also just what they committed to him. It's like, yeah, they have nothing. I've just meant as far as like, I know the money, but I'm just even talking about like, all right, we just brought you in and we don't care if we bench you. It's not like we're like putting up posters with you. That's when it gets awkward. And we put up the posters of everybody and then they get benched. So that was another thing. The Panthers, Miles Sanders. Oh my God. They paid him all that money. He sucked. He was, oh my God, he couldn't pick up anybody in pass protection. It was so bad. I didn't tweet it. I didn't want to get too down on Panthers guys. I know you guys have had a rough. I know for you don't care, but you've had a rough 16 months. But like, oh my God, Miles, that's why Chuba Hubbard, like Chuba.
I've been calling him Chuba.
Chuba Hubbard outplayed him, but actually looked decent but I don't know. It's just all that. Like they just pay these guys and they don't do anything either. So yeah, just a mess.
Yeah, that's the Trevor Lawrence part is going to lead into our next question. From Ben Solak, dear friend.
I know him.
New dad.
Yeah. Congrats again, Ben. Welcome.
You can choose one. Yeah, you got that. Yeah, you got that.
Yeah. Welcome. I did it during the season. That was the worst idea I've ever had. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. You should have timed that better.
Oh, yeah. No, we're trying. I didn't know we'd be live right away.
You got to get it right next time.
Yeah. I knew we were live, but I didn't know how live.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Love you, babe.
From Ben Solak. You can choose one online NFL argument. Think Trevor Lawrence isn't worth an extension. Dak isn't clutch. Burrow better than Herbert. Running backs don't matter, etc. On which you get the final say. Everyone will now agree with your stance. Which argument do you choose to heal? I would think I would take the Trevor Lawrence one.
Yeah. That's an easy one. Actually, all these are pretty good. The Burrow Herbert one, I don't care. The running backs don't matter one. It's kind of like one of those things where it's like anyone that wants to say that, it's like, yeah, I know I can turn my ears off. Yeah, because it's not running backs don't matter. It's just the baseline got higher and the run game still matters. And the fact that people have canceled it out and acted like it didn't matter for the last decade are in for a rude treat this season, I think. A rude awakening, I should say. But yeah, I think maybe that one, the run game doesn't matter one, or only pass the ball one. And this is me as a former quarterback saying this. It's like the running game matters more than ever. And I would say that it's like, appreciate the run game. Maybe that's it. That's the take I have. Everybody loves the run game. That is the take. Everybody has to agree with me now.
Yeah. And dude, it's just so obvious. Like, yeah, a lot of running backs can hit baseline production that you'll need, but there are a few that are not replaceable.
Correct.
There are a few. Derrick Henry still out here chugging along. Christian McCaffrey just had a tremendous season. We'll see what happens with Nick Chubb, but it's hard to say that his contract was a mistake for the Browns. You know, like there's some guys you can't replace.
It's a touch. Fine. It's a touch and snap thing too. That's what I've always gotten frustrated. Is that these guys, if you're going to run the ball 20 something times, they're touching the ball 20 something times of 60 plays. That's a third of your plays. He better be good. If I'm going to spend that many touches on that, like taking the ball out of the hands of everybody else, he better be freaking worth it. So that's what I've gotten across. I get it. I get the contract stuff. I get it. I've conceded long ago on all that. My dad, when he was a head coach, he never wanted to take a running back high either. He took all of his guys in the fourth round. Weldy Moore, Ontario Smith, all these guys. So I've always been a part of that. But to me, it was the people that took that and then just went with, oh, the run game doesn't matter. But it was like, it's just no. So that's they do. The top end guys do because of what they unlock. Christian McCaffrey is the top back running the ball, and he's worth about the same as a slot receiver or a top tight end catching the ball. Like I was doing the stats. He basically had the same first down rate as like Dalton Schultz catching the ball, and he was the most efficient one of the most efficient running backs running the ball. So that's a twofer right there. You have a number 3 option in the passing game and your number 1 option in the run game. That's amazing. And he can play 50 plus snaps. That's so valuable. So valuable.
It's the volume.
It's the volume,
right? Like it's the volume where it's like, okay, dude, if I can trust you to touch the ball 350 times a year, yes. You got to come back, buddy.
Yes. Right? How are your knees? Good? Okay.
It is interesting, like the way that argument got bastardized. It just wasn't fun because you can't tell me that picking Christian McCaffrey in the first round's a mistake. Like you
can't. And everyone wanted to do the Bijan Jahmyr Gibbs thing last year, and then Jahmyr Gibbs picked it up, and wait till you see what Bijan's probably going to do this year. And it's like, and then I don't know. And I mean, shoot, we're just the top minds right now that everyone wants to have platitudes about is the Shanahan guys. Who are the coaches that prioritize running the ball more than anyone? Those guys, they want to, they don't ever want to throw it. If they could say we never throw the ball, they'd be fine with it. So the fact that that's the vogue offense and people are going running game, don't run the ball. It's kind of just such a disconnect of what's actually happening on the field right now. So yeah. Thank you for letting me get into that rant. That was good. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben. We'll use that discussion to answer a question from producer Colin. who is a misguided diehard Cowboys fan and watching his team circle the dream right now. I think that the idea of stopping the run right now is interesting because Mike Zimmer is probably walking into Cowboys meetings right now and asking himself, how the hell are we going to stop the run? Colin asked, how will Mike Zimmer fix the Cowboys? I would see what I would do is I would start giving Mozzie Smith some steroids while he's sleeping, and then stop so he can pass a test in time. That's like your only key because they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything on defense.
Nope.
You still might have safeties playing linebacker this year
in a defense that's not. Yeah, no, it's the Zimmer stuff is too. It's such a different. It's a different off our defense completely than Dan Quinn. Like it's all about discipline, yes. 4 down front as well. Like, you know, I know they kind of did it before with Quinn, but it was more just a certain types that he likes. Also, it's just like, yeah, it's not as much man coverage. You're gonna see some more zone stuff too. But everything you just said there, Chuck. Yeah, who is in the middle? Because they signed Eric Kendricks. It wasn't like Kendricks was tearing it up last year with the Chargers, and I like Eric Kendricks a lot.
He's a little over the hill.
He's over the hill. He just doesn't have the speed anymore. He's smart. He does a lot of nice things. He's just over the hill. But the guy that was so important to him last year was Jonathan Hankins, and he's gone. He's in Seattle now, and they need a plugger. And Maisie Smith might be 330 or whatever he is, but he's like a 3-tech. He's a guy. He's a gap shooter. They need a guy that can just play bully ball in the middle to let all the kind of other guys go. I'm very curious how Zimmer does it. I'm interested because I love Mike Zimmer defenses, especially on third down. I'm curious how he uses Micah Parsons because I think double mug looks with the linebackers over the A gap. Now imagine Parsons is one of those guys instead of Anthony Barr or Kendricks. Yeah, that's gonna be scary for a lot of offenses. That's what I'm most excited about. But I think stopping the run's gonna be itchy, I think, all year.
Jonathan Hankins has been, to me, like one of the most undervalued NFL players in the past decade. Yep. Because I used to, when I think it was 2016. Yeah, it's 2016 because it was during the Falcons run. I was working for Bleacher Report on their crew, like NFL 100, which was basically like discount PFF. And we weren't giving you no tracking or nothing, but we could tell you who the best player each week. So I was in charge of defensive linemen for the entire league. Just going back through the tape, and every week I'm like, yo, Hankins is kicking ass. And I think this is when he was on the Giants. And every year I feel like he's just been bloop, 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 just little 1-year deal, hopping around journeyman. But every time he's there, he becomes like a really important part for someone's defense. Like, dude, when the Falcons were actually like competing, I was clamoring for them to sign Hankins every year because he was always a free agent. It just made sense. Stick Hankins next to Grady, draft someone else, keep it moving.
Yeah, Hankins is the perfect guy to me that kind of shows, getting after the quarterback and speed are of course important like that. And I think we over the last 10 years really kind of the Seahawks guys that were kind of like, we're like, hey, you need guys that can rush the passer only. And I think a lot of teams, as they're playing softer boxes, all these types of things, they realize, we kind of need one of everything. We need a bruiser. We need like a big body in the middle to actually help out for all these speed guys. So it's just funny to me that the Cowboys, who the on-off splits with Hankins were tremendous the last 2 years. It was like if Hankins is on the field, they're a top defense. Off the field, they're a bottom 5 defense. Just period. And the fact that they just go this offseason and go, yes, see ya. Yeah. Do we have a replacement on the roster? No. Like Maisie Smith is not the same type. And it's just because this guy's played, Hankins has started 134 games. He has 17 and a half sacks. And I guarantee you there's people that just go, well, he doesn't get after the quarterback. But it's like, these guys, even if they don't fill the box score, are so useful. They just are. So the Cowboys, I know, are very frustrating offseason overall, but we're talking about the Dak contracts and the CD contracts. I think just not refilling that defensive, just getting that one kind of bruiser in the middle is like as bad as not re-signing those guys early.
Next question from a friend, Nick at Seahawks Nerd 75. Which teams should already be thinking about the 2025 offseason? The Panthers.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I'm just trying to think of different teams. I didn't get just keep pounding away at them. Panthers, Broncos, maybe.
Broncos are a good one.
Yeah,
I I cannot believe Sean Payton is putting these expectations on Bo Nix like he is. Every time he speaks, he's talking about him like he's goddamn Drew Brees.
It's crazy.
It's baffling.
He's the same age as Drew Brees.
It's older than you.
And there's so much disconnect with Knicks. I'm trying to figure that one out. That one I had pie on my face because I was like, there's no way Sean Payton will draft Bo Nix in the first round because that was the only team that got connected with him. It was the only team that got connected with him. And I was like, if they take him in the second, totally understand, or the third. Like, I thought he would go in the second. And man.
They didn't have a second round pick.
They didn't have a second. Yeah. Man, it doesn't make sense. Nix doesn't push the ball. He doesn't throw over the middle. And it's just the accuracy stuff is like making contact. It's not getting on base, if that makes sense. But
also, if you're hitting singles every play, I don't give a damn how accurate you are.
No, I don't.
You should be hitting those every single time. You're an NFL.
I want to see an accuracy 25 yards down the field, not 2 yards. Like I know. It's completion percentage. If you honestly, if you're using QB wins and completion percentage as like your arguments for me on Twitter, in person, anything like that, brr, off, ears off, brain
ears
off, brain off, eyes off.
I've already cut the TV on, bro.
Yeah. So that was the thing with Knicks is so accurate. It's like, is he? What's his ADOT? How deep is he pushing it? A lot of screens there, guys, and all this accuracy you guys keep talking about. So I think Sean Payton's like, yeah, this is kind of like Drew in 2017. Like we threw a lot of quick game. He throws a lot of quick game. Yeah, it works. I think they said we need somebody. We need somebody. We need to buy time or something. I don't know. It's so bizarre to me.
yeah. But bizarre is the right word. Bizarre is right.
Why not trade for Trey Lance for a 5th rounder for Trey Lance and go? Why not sign Sam Darnold? I like just now you're committed to him. You took him 12th. You're committed. This is it. This is your guy. This is it. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe Sean doesn't care, but who knows?
All right. Next question from Clark Brooks at SEC_StatCat. Does great work. Love his account this football season. Is it wise for the Titans to switch J.C. Latham over to the blind side instead of keeping him at right tackle? I would say this. I don't know if it will work, but one, he's their best option at left tackle by far. Mm-hmm. Like it's not even close. When you look at the rest of the players in the roster, they have one option at left tackle. It's J.C. Latham. I think he can do it. I think he can do it.
I think so.
Will it be clean at first? Probably not. I doubt it. Like even Penei Sewell moving from left tackle to right tackle.
Oh yeah, it was like
the start of his rookie year was not good.
No,
but he's still Penei Sewell, so it worked out. That's kind of where I am with J.C. Latham. Do I think like the first month of the season will be super clean for him in pass pro? No, but by like week 15, yeah, I think you should be pretty happy with where you are.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I thought he was a much better athlete than he got credit for. He's just a different body at tackle, and I think that's what threw everybody off. Because you watch him, his pass sets were fine. Like it wasn't like he was slow. Yeah. He never got beat around the edge. He's so big, anyways. But it wasn't like he's just a blob out there. I was just curious. I would love to see him on the left side. I again only saw him on the right side. Wasn't sure what the reasons for that were. The one optimism for this is he's with Bill Callahan, and it's like if anyone's going to get it out of him, they will get it out of him. Bill Callahan will get it out of him. I really like Latham. I think he's a stud. I know in the run game he'll be phenomenal. And now he's next to Skoronski at left guard, so that could be really fun. But yeah, pass sets. I think he undersets a little bit sometimes, which is fine because he's big and he's long. But I think there's gonna be some times early in the year where he's doing that underset, and then he's like, "Oh, that guy's a lot faster than the Auburn DN that I played last year." This freak that I'm going against. So yeah, I agree with you. I think maybe some of the pass sets are going to be some up and downness, but at the very least in the run game, I think he's going to be phenomenal right away.
Yeah. Let's answer just a few more, and then we'll get out of here. One we were talking about before the season, this is from John Crumpler at John H. Crumpler on Twitter. Who is the NFL's Trevor Lawrence on the defensive side of the ball? A player due for a huge contract in the next 12 months that the public will not understand or appreciate. I give you mine before the show. Close to my heart. Falcons cornerback AJ Terrell.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Dude, I mean, the way I'm thinking about this right now, with guys who have fallen off in the past couple years, like, he's got to be like one of the 6 best corners.
Oh yeah. Oh no, easily
in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the way that Falcons fans treat him sometimes, you would think that they should get rid of him immediately. And so much of that is just like
he gets dunked on, and that's why he gets dunked, and that's why everyone remembers. He gets dunked on once a game, and then everyone doesn't remember the 9 other plays they did great on, but because of the one dunk. Yeah,
and no one ever cares about the plays where a quarterback looks over. Oh, damn, they just got him blanketed. I got to go somewhere else. It's kind of like offensive tackle in that way, where everyone just remembers the bad plays, and no one remembers the plays where nothing happened because you did your job.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I think like AJ, I'm
one.
about at Blake check territory. Just give it to him. That defense cannot afford to lose him whatsoever. No. They don't have nearly enough horses to let him walk in free agency. So he's one of the best cornerbacks in the league, and I think people are going to be a little bit surprised when he gets paid like one for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one. I'm trying to find another one because that one's hard to top. Most of these guys make sense. Not him. I'm going through spot tracks like free agency for next year, just trying to find. I don't know if any of these guys would like set the market. Like Josh Uche might get a little bit of money if he has another good year, but it's not like he's going to like set the market or anything like that. Like that's a great answer that you just had. Like I think AJ Terrell is an All-Pro contender at corner. I mean, he was second team All-Pro a couple of years ago, but it's just I think he's so good. Like I'm just even like it's a lot of kind of like my guys, if that makes sense, not actual stars that I'm like, oh yeah, this guy might get like a 2 or 3 year deal for middle tier money. None of these guys are going to reset the market. So I think AJ Terrell might be the best answer there.
Do we want to answer this one where it's like the funniest podcast appropriate thing a player or coach has said to you?
I'm gonna. I don't know.
I think I have a good podcast appropriate one. I'll leave names out though.
Okay, I have a decent one. It's not the funniest, but I have an okay one. Yeah,
it's not. Yeah, it's podcast appropriate. I ain't trying to get fired. I respect my paycheck more than I respect making any of you guys laugh. So when I was covering the Jets, there was a defensive lineman. I don't think he's playing anymore. Who was out there? Like he would show me his iPad with their practice footage on it because he was just like, "Yo, look at me beating up this offensive lineman." Blah blah blah. He got into an argument with a practice squad offensive lineman on who was faster.
Okay.
So they were going to have like a 50-yard race after practice.
Typical.
Yeah.
I've seen so many of those.
Right, this is all.
Dude, I've
all
seen so
typical.
many training camp races in my life. 100 of them.
So typical.
So typical.
The defensive lineman, he was still on his rookie deal, but he was like a 3rd round pick. So like there was some cash that he's saved up, right? He says to the practice squad offensive lineman, "Yo, I'm going to put 10 grand. We're both going to put up 10 grand on this race, and we're going to have Charles go time us out there on the field." It's like, me? I'm a reporter. I can't just walk out on the field. Yeah, and just time you guys. Like, I said, damn coach, first of all. And then when I said no, defensive lineman got upset at me. Like started yelling at me. I'm like, whoa, I'm just trying to.
What do you think our relationship is?
Yeah,
man?
yeah. Like we'll text like once a year, maybe.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Congrats.
Right. Well, hey, what's up? Good. Yeah. Hope you're doing well. But luckily, offensive lineman saved me. Practice squad guy goes, "Bro, I do not have $10,000 to put on a 50-yard dash." And then that started an argument between the two of them, and I just walked out. So that's one
yours?
of my funnier ones that I could share on a podcast.
That's too. Oh man, I got enough to. I could sink the whole league with some of the ones I've heard. There's some very prominent people. I've heard some say some not some great things. Not a little bit to me. There's someone in media I could definitely sink. How she talked to me. That person talked to me when I was 12. Somebody yelled at me when I was on the sideline. But I would say George O'Leary was my freshman year coach at UCF, and I didn't throw the ball away on a bootleg, and he hit me in the helmet with his whistle and goes, and he just looks me straight in the eye and goes, "You are the dumbest smart player I've ever had." That's all he said. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. I've never felt so small. No swearing. Just straight. Oh man, that one I'll never ever forget. And I threw the ball away. I never took a sack on a bootleg ever the rest of my life. So yeah, he got through to me.
Dude, there was one time in high school, and we'll answer one more question after this because we're going.
I came up with some of those. It's the defensive Trevor Lawrence, by the way. Aleem McNeil, Osa Odigizua from
that's a good one.
Milton Williams from the Eagles. I think he's gonna have a good year this year. And Afatu Melifonwu from the Lions as well. So
yeah. I like
McNeil.
That's
those McNeil might get paid. So yeah, those are the other ones I want to throw on there.
Yeah, there's a back in high school. I think it was my senior year. Our league that we played in decided to do playoffs for the first time.
Okay.
And the league that we played in, we only played, or at my high school, we didn't have lights at the field. So we only played during the day, like on Saturday, which was fine. It was kind of cool. But we had a really good team my senior year. We had a handful of guys go D1, a couple other guys get D1 looks. And towards the end of the season, there's 2 games left and we're in a position to be one of the top seeds in the playoffs. So I think it was like a 14 playoffs. The top 2 seeds get home games. And we were going to host the first Friday night football game in McDonough school history, which was like 100 plus years, if we were able to get across the finish line in just one of our last 2 games. We're playing against Calvert Hall, which is where Mel Kiper went to high school, actually.
Okay.
Yes. Really random.
Funny. Yeah.
That was one of our big high school rivals, Calvert Hall School in Baltimore. And, we're down by like 4 points. We're driving down the field. We get down to like a 2nd and 4 on like the 5-yard line. So we only have 5 yards to go, but we can still get a first down. And I remember our coach calls a wide receiver screen. Pretty safe play, considering the circumstances. But my buddy who played wide receiver, he didn't think that the play was going to work. But he also didn't communicate that to anyone before the season. Because look, freelancing happens sometimes. Freelancing happens sometimes. But as long as you tell me what you're about to do, we can at least work with that. He runs a slant instead of running the screen. So quarterback snaps the ball because we run shotgun, gets the ball, turns right. There's nobody there. So then, he starts scanning across the field and sees him in the end zone and he starts panicking. So screen blocking, slant route,
everybody's all
quarterback is pissing his pants and he just lost it up, picked off, and we lost the game and we lost any chance at hosting the playoff game that year. And after the game was over, our coach didn't say a word to us when that game ended. He did not say a single word to us. He was just like, go to the locker room. I'll see you guys on Monday.
He gave you, I'm not mad. I'm disappointed post-game speech.
He was like face red, steaming, you just get the hell out of here. Get out of here. Done. Goodbye.
Oh my God. That if you ever want to see me angry, and I have a temper, but if you want to see me angry, be a receiver and go rogue. You want to see a young Nate Tice get angry at somebody. Yeah. No one went rogue on me because that's when my Irish side came out.
That's the one position where you can't be doing that too.
Can't do it. Everything's timing based. You have to be in a certain spot at a certain place. Yeah, I know. I one player wanted. This is more funny than anything. Randy Moss. Right when I started getting recruited in high school, I wasn't a big recruit, but I was starting to get some letters and stuff. And of course, my dad's bragging. So Randy would warm up with me sometimes. I would throw, and that was it. Right before practice, when I was a ball boy and stuff. And then he's like, "Little Tice." He's like, "Throw me some of these." And he's throwing the ball. And he goes, "How many letters you got?" And I was like, like 10, 12. And he goes, "Throw me a couple more." So I throw him a couple more. And he's being cool. And I was like, "All right, sweet." And he goes, "Hit the weight room before you answer back."
That's so good. That's so good.
I was like 160-pound sophomore, like.
My bad, Randy.
On a relay note, I'm 240 now. Oh man, that one I'll never
Oh,
forget. And he was saying it funny. I knew how Randy is, but it was like, even at 16, 15, wherever I was just like, that it'll never leave my mind. He's like, yeah, hit the weight room.
All right, let's get out of here.
All right, that was good. I'm glad we got those in.
That was a good podcast. Got a little end of show business. Summer schedule change. Zero Blitz podcast with Jason Fitz and Frank Schwab will be next up on Thursday, tomorrow, June 13th. I'm Trevor McDonald. You can find me on Twitter at 4Verts. Nate, before we let you get out of here, anything besides Bryce Young stuff that you're working on?
Bryce Young, then I'll do the other second-year quarterbacks in the weeks to come. So Stroud and Anthony Richardson. And I did Will Levis last week. So yeah, if you want to check that one out too as well.
Cool.
Like I like Will Levis.
I'm Charles McDonald.
Sorry. I liked him way more than I thought.
We set him up. They set him up to try.
I know. That's kind of even my article was about. Like the opening, I was like, hey, just ignore who the players are or the characters are. Just look at this narrative-wise. You got the offensive coordinator from the Bengals. You got two really good receivers. You got another slot receiver who's had a 1,000-yard season. You got like, it's like they invested in Bill Cowan and a couple offensive linemen. It's like, just look at that narrative-wise. Pretty good setup, right?
They're trying. They clearly want the Will Levis experiment to work.
Yes. And I don't think it's a terrible bet. I watched them, and I'm more optimistic about them than I thought I would be.
Yeah, better bet than some of the first round quarterbacks this year. I will say that.
Yes, or the number one pick last year.
Wait. When in 2026, you'll see about Penix. Okay, maybe or maybe 2027.
We almost went the whole pod without it.
I know. I had to get one last little bit. All right, I'm done. I'm Charles McDonald. You can find me on Twitter at 4Verts. Nate is on Twitter at Nate_Tice. Thanks to Colin Brennan, producer Colin, for stepping in and helping us out today. We will see you next Tuesday.